Show me what you got.
I'm Pickle Rick!
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the first edition of the Grind Time Podcast. I am your host, Jey-Row, and I hope everybody had a good Christmas, a good New Year. I know I did. And I'm very excited to get 2018 started. One of the reasons that is because of this, my new project, the Grind Time Podcast. I'm excited to be doing this. This is something I wanted to do for a very long time, and I'm glad I have the means to do it now. Menace to Sobriety has a lot going on this year, and this is just one of the many things that will be coming your way. Now, our first guest, I was very excited when he said he would be able to do this. He's a very knowledgeable guy in the industry and somebody I look up to a lot for advice and knowledge when it comes to this scene. You might know him from bands like Jenna Tortures, Static X, Davey Suicide, and of course, the drummer for Twiztid, even though he's so much more than all of that. My good friend, Drayven. Drayven, how you doing today, buddy?
I'm doing good, Jey-Row. How we doing?
Not bad. I bet you're happy as hell to be on the West Coast right now and not back here in Ohio.
Yeah, I mean, it's real hard, living every day in shorts and a T-shirt.
Yeah, right now we got a lot of snow on the ground, and it's like 20 degrees, and it sucks.
Yeah, that shit look real good in my rearview mirror, man.
I bet, man. I bet. Well, most of the people that are going to be listening to this obviously are in the underground, and they know you as Twiztid's drummer.
Yes, indeed.
Obviously, me and other people that, are kind of behind the scenes know you as much, much, much more than that. So right now, basically what I want to do is just kind of pick your brain, let people, see what else you do. Because I feel like one of the reasons why I asked you to do the very first one and I wanted to is because you do so much. What would you consider your job title to even be exactly?
That's something me and Jason Beaver, the merch guy from Twiztid, joke about because he puts like merch manager and assistant office guy at the end of his emails. I'm like, so do I get to put like drummer, LD, production manager, stage manager, assistant TM sometime? Do I get to put all that shit at the end of my emails?
Sure.
So, I mean, I started touring as just a drummer, and it's just kind of evolved from there. It's like I said, I handle all the lighting and production for Twiztid. So some tours, like the last tour they did, I was just doing lights. Obviously, they weren't using a drummer, but I was still there on that tour. And then next year, I'm going to be doing, back to drumming and lighting and doing it all at the same time. So, there's that. I mean, when I'm home, I do everything from stagehand work to IT work and, production work here. There's a venue called the Pearl, which is inside the Palms Hotel here, and they just had a big radio show that the Killers played. So, I was working that show, just kind of stage managing and, helping them set up and tear down and making sure the show goes good. So, it's a little bit of everything. But I feel like these days you have to kind of be able to do multiple things.
And also on top of what you do as far as the production aspect goes, whenever you guys are coming through and I bring some people to the show, I always tell them, watch Drayven. Don't necessarily, always keep your eyes on Jamie and Paul, but from time to time, glance over and look at Drayven because you're up there, you're just going at it.
Yeah.
Because when it comes to musicianship, I believe anyway that your stage presence is just as important as how you're playing and what you're playing. And more than most people, you go up there and you kill it on a level that most people don't do.
The drummers I liked growing up were showmen and, as kind of lead frontman-ish as you can be as a drummer. And that's something that kind of drew me to it. I was like, oh, you can do, that kind of shit. Like Tommy Lee's doing 360s and look at the guys with the pyro and, all this shit. I'm like, that's really cool, And so that kind of got me into the stick tricks and the big arm swings and the head banging and standing on shit and yelling and breaking stuff. And, it's just, I think if I didn't do all that stuff, I'd probably be a serial killer. So, it's just, I get very violent when I'm off tour for too long. So it's just, it's a way to get it all out. And, I always try to play for the people in the back of the room, as cheesy and generic as that sounds. But, y'all see drummers in the biggest bands in the world, and they look so fucking bored, it drives me nuts. I'm like, oh, I'm sorry you had to wake up and play for this football stadium worth of people today. Fuck you. So, it's fun. I love it. I love what I do. So it's just the way I play. It just comes out. So, it's not me trying, like, oh, I got to do this on this song. It's just whatever comes to me. So, and backing those two up it's a lot of fun, man. Like we just do this kind of improv stuff now in between songs, and it just kind of evolved into, me just doing a beat and they'll rap over it, or I'll just, hit weird sounds and cue weird stuff. And I don't tell them what I'm going to do. I just surprise them to keep it weird. And, so we have a good time up there. It's fun.
You're from my area, obviously. We're both from the same area, the Dayton area.
Indeed.
Where did you get your start, or what band or what contact? How did you get involved in your very first project?
No, I mean, like when I was in Ohio, I was in this band called 8 Count, and we were just like an active rock band out of Ohio. And then, so I went out to California with my singer and my dad to actually go through this drum factory in Northern California. And we came down into Hollywood, and my singer found a flyer for this band called Blacklist Union, and they were playing for what's now Steel Panther, but they used to be called Metal School. And they were opening up for them, and they just looked so cool. Like the singer looked like this weird, like Scott Weiland, just this badass frontman, and they were, just like the coolest looking LA rock band we'd seen. So we checked them out, and then we saw they were going on tour, and they came through Ohio. So we opened up for them in like Cincinnati and in Dayton. And then I saw that they needed a drummer a couple weeks later after they came through. I was like, hey, like we just played with you guys. I don't know if you remember me. And the singer's like, oh yeah, like fly out to LA. Try out. I'm like, oh, shit, okay. So I flew out there on January 1st, like New Year's Day, and auditioned for them. They were in the studio starting to write a new record, and got the gig. And I was like, all right, cool, like, this is awesome. Like, I got to, go back home. I was in school, I was in college, and I had a condo and, girlfriend and everything. And, I was working. And I was like, I got to go home. How much time do I have? Like, well, we honestly don't want you to go home. I'm like, well, I got to go home for a minute. And I went home for 3 days and moved out to LA 3 days later. So it was just, went home, put my place up for sale, quit my job, quit school, and packed everything I could and moved to Los Angeles. So, it's crazy looking back at it. I'm like, oh, fucking, I was sleeping on the singer's couch and just, waiting to get my own place, and then brought my girl out, and, it's crazy looking back. But then through that, I met, people in different bands, and that led me to Genitortures, and then a guitar player from Blacklist. They went through a ton of members. It was almost a joke. Like when you move to Hollywood, you play for Blacklist Union. And then one of the guitar players knew Wayne Static, and he was putting out a solo record and putting a band together. So I got recommended for that, and that led to, him putting Static X back together, me being a part of that. And just, one thing just seems to kind of lead to the next. So that's kind of, and then, I was playing John Sustar, who's doing sound for Twiztid right now. He was working for Blood on the Dance Floor. I played with those guys for a minute. And Davey Suicide used to open up for Static X on a tour. It's how I met those guys. An old merch guy that we used to tour with Davey got called to do lights for Twiztid, but he couldn't do it, and Davey was going to be out. He recommended me for it to do double duty, so I was doing lighting for Twiztid and drumming for Davey Suicide, on these different tours. So it's just, it's a small world, when you start touring, and, it's just kind of friends recommending friends. So, I moved to LA in 2007, so it's been a few years, I've been at it. So.
How was it like touring with Static X?
It was awesome. It was one of those just weird, surreal things that, because I'll find old CDs labeled like Napster one, from when Napster came out, and I was downloading all this music, and I'd have a bunch of Static X on there. And then, fast forward a few years later, I'm playing for them, and, getting to play those songs like Push It and Cold, and just, those big Static X songs with him, standing behind him playing with his hair up and everything. Like it was cool. I would say it's definitely one of the coolest things I've done. So, I was very lucky to get to do it. Rest in peace, Wayne. Miss you.
I bet that was a big moment for you, touring for a group like that you've looked up to for so long. I feel kind of the same way, considering the fact that, now I've worked for Twiztid and Magic Ninja myself, and I've had the experience to, hang out with Twiztid on the bus and, really get to know those guys. And there still is a point where it's really surreal for me, because I look at them and, in the back of my head, I'm just thinking, hey, these are the guys that, they're the reason why you're doing what you're doing right now. And, they know you on a first name basis. And that's something you've always worked for. And now that, I'm here doing all those things with them. And, the last time we were at El Rosa Villa with you guys, Monoxide came right up to me and, gave me a handshake and said, "What's up, Jay?" And, in the back of my head, I'm just like, don't freak out, don't freak out, don't freak out. Because they're still my idols, they're still people that I look up to. So, it's a cool experience, and I definitely know what you're talking about. But, man, I couldn't even imagine what it would be like being a part of Twiztid. And I'm sure that's exactly how you felt. So that's amazing.
Yeah, and it was cool. And, we were doing a lot of cool shows, and, like House of Blues is, all over the country, and knitting factories and stuff. And they were packed, and the fans, were really cool to us. We didn't know how it would be, that we weren't the original Static X and this and that. But, they were really accepting. And, I think we had a really good lineup at the time. And, again, I met a lot of really cool people that were kind of at that next level or who had worked at that next level in the industry. Like my old tour manager from Static X works for Limp Bizkit now, and, shit like that. So it's like, man, like, a lot of cool people. One of our sound guys used to work for Guns N' Roses for a while. Like, just, people working for bands. I'm like, oh, dude, like, I love that band, So it's cool just hearing stories from them and just seeing, where the work can lead to, So it's cool. Like, my old drum tech works for Limp Bizkit. One of my old techs works for, like, Guar or, White Snake and 80s bands. He's a tech who's gone. I think he was home 6 weeks out of the whole last year, and now he's up for a gig for this, like, Grammy nomination. His first gig with this artist next year could be the Grants. I'm like, holy shit, dude! Like, that's awesome, And when I met him, he was just working for free for one of the openers, being like a merch guy and just kind of stage guy. So it's cool seeing people grow in this business, whether it's in the underground scene or at a bigger level. Like, it's just cool seeing people grow and just come up. It's cool.
Sure. Now, you touched a little bit on how you got, connected with Magic Ninja and Twiztid and all them. How did it come about to where you were playing drums for them?
So, one thing they wanted to try to do was kind of get into some of these festivals, and a lot of the feedback they were getting was like, oh, like, it's a little too rap for this festival. Maybe if you had some musicians on stage or a band behind you, maybe it would go over better. It'd be more rockin' or whatever. And they were like, well, fuck it, yeah, it's something we've thought about doing for a long time, was having a band. And so a guy in LA, I know Ace Von Johnson, who plays for Faster Pussycat a lot. I think he met George at like a Cold Cock whiskey party or something, and he kind of helped put the original band together. And then the original drummer they were using, it didn't work out, and they had New Year's Evil booked and promoted as the full band. And I think it was like the Halloween show that they fired him at. So they're like, oh man, like, what are we gonna do? Will you step in and do this show for us? I'm like, yeah, sure. Let's see what happens. And it went really well, and they had a good time, and it felt good. And then I was like, I think I can do lighting and drumming. I've been researching some different stuff, so I just kind of figured out this weird hybrid way of doing lighting stuff that people don't really do that often, but it works for me, it works for us. So, it's just more work for me, but keeps me out of trouble, so I don't mind it. And then the full band idea didn't really work out as well as we'd hoped, so it kind of got whittled down to just me. And they've talked about just ways to keep it different. Like, we might bring a guitar player out for a tour, like me and a guitar player, might be me and a DJ and the guys. Like, it's just kind of open to do whatever the fuck we want, because they can do whatever the fuck they want. So it's kind of cool.
Yeah, sure. A lot of people were kind of curious too, that I know of. I've had people ask me, and I'm like, I don't have the answer to this question. What exactly was it that you guys didn't like about the Wickedness? Because I know the hype for it was amazing. When you guys, when it first was starting being promoted that Twiztid was going to start using a band, that was the Welcome to the Underground tour, which came through Dayton. That was the first time that I brought Twiztid to Dayton. And I had a lot of people that were like, are they bringing the band? Are they bringing the band? And I'm like, I don't think so. But hey, there was a lot of hype behind it. I remember it very clearly. What is it? What was it you guys didn't care for, or was it more than that?
I mean, I don't know if it was any one thing, as it was just, and it might have just been the players that we had at the time. You know, it never quite fully gelled. And I think it was just, you know, sonically, I don't know if it was quite what the guys wanted. You know, I don't know if we really had enough prep time, you know, like to just to get in a room with everybody and just really hash out what we want to do. It's kind of like, all right, here's this tour. Let's all meet on the first day, you know, and we would just kind of jump into it. And I think the guys had just been doing it for so long. It's just the two of them. I think it kind of freaked them out having all these other people on stage that they honestly just didn't know. You know, they toured with me for a while. I've been working with them for probably like a year or so before the drumming thing even happened. So, you know, we'd lived together at a time. We'd hung out. I'd been part of the organization for a while, whereas these other guys just kind of came in. You know, they rehearsed a couple times, and you know, off we went. And so I just think it just never quite fully gelled. I think it was just too much on stage for them. You know, they're trying to do their thing, and they're not used to having to look around and, oh shit, there's a guitar stock, you know, about to hit me in the head, and you know, oh shit, there's a keyboard over here. Like, that was never here before. So I think it was just really new to them, and I think it was just too much, you know. So
yeah, I totally get that. Trust me, coming from before I joined Menace, I did nothing but, you know, rap over beats, and I got stuck with, you know, a band behind me, and my big ass, you know, I like to jump around as much as possible. And you can't do that with all those people around you. And it is, I can understand, that's a very hard transition to make. And I don't think people realize that.
And I think just, you know, just the volume. I mean, I think just even me having me up there sometimes, there's times they'll kind of walk back towards me and I'll hit a cymbal and, you know, Mad Rocks will look at me like, damn, that's fucking loud. I'm like, I know, dude, I hit hard. You know, Paul come back and rock out, and I'll see him kind of, you know, put his finger up to his ear like, God damn, that was loud. He's like, you're a loud motherfucker. I'm like, hell yeah. So, you know, Mac plus guitars and keyboards and, you know, everything else. It was a lot on stage for them.
Yeah.
So, but it's not, I don't think it's something that's ever fully dead, you know. It's just, they are very much about trying to keep it interesting and keeping it new for people, you know. So they're open to try anything, which was cool. You know, it was an idea. They're like, fuck it, why not? And I think it went over. I think the fans liked it, some of them. You know, there's always the old school guys like, oh, fuck the band. I'm like, dude, it's something new. You know, you can't hate on them for trying to evolve. So
I think the thing that most people, at least that I noticed anyway, from the outside looking in, the thing that people talked about the most was, I guess there was a malfunction at one of the Fright Fest shows or something to that effect.
Yeah, there was a couple. I mean, there's been a couple tech issues with it. You know, it was trying to figure it out, you know.
Right.
There's a couple times they had to figure it out in front of a couple thousand people, you know. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, and Juggalos, you know how it is. Juggalos are just very quick to tell you, you know, this is the way it should be done, and they've never stepped on stage other than, you know, do a VIP thing or something along those lines. They don't understand that.
Yeah.
You know, that's just the way they are, and they're overly critical.
Yeah, and, you know, there's a lot of times that, you know, we'll be on tour doing things one way, and then all of a sudden we'll go to Fright Fest and try and add songs and change up the production and stuff. And sometimes there's tech problems, man. It's a live show, you know. So it is what it is. You know, there's been a couple mess ups, but anytime, you know, you got electronics involved, something can go bad. You know, the playback fucks up, the microphones fuck up, the guitar fucks up. You know, I'm sure you guys in Menace have had a guitar go down or an amp blow up or whatever the fuck it is. You know, your mic cuts out. Like, it just, shit happens. But, you know, when it's Twiztid and it's the headliner. And I think, too, is, you know, this was a little while ago. I think even more, there was a lot of juggalos that wanted to see Twiztid fuck up. You know, they were looking for shit. You know, they wanted to start shit. So when a little something like that happens, they blow it way out of proportion. You know, they didn't cancel the show. They didn't pull the plug on, you know, the whole show. The band came off stage and they kicked it old school, and the night went great, you know.
You're right. You're 100% right. People kind of do want to see Twiztid fuck up at times. But at the same time, they're very critical on everybody. I remember just this last summer, actually when I was helping you move, during the gathering, ICP had done from front to back their Wraith album. and apparently Violent J forgot a bunch of his words on the record. And they're trying to play a record that was released when I was still in high school from front to back, and people are expecting them to be able to do it perfectly, and they got on their shit about it. I'm not trying to come to the defense of ICP or anything like that, but it's just the standards of what people expect. They want, it should be perfect. Well, again, these are people that really don't understand the business and everything that's involved, and it's just not that easy. And I think people forget that it's not that easy, or they just don't realize it because they have no clue.
Yeah, and I mean, I know we'll try and add some songs and stuff, and I'll see Jamie, rehearsing and listening back to the CD. He's like, fuck, man, I haven't heard this song in 10 years, And I'm like, when you hear guys like Jamie and Paul rap, it's a lot of fucking words,
Right.
And I'm like, dude, I don't know how you remember all this shit, So it's a live show, something. I remember hearing about the ICP thing. A lot of people were upset, like, oh, Jay only rapped like half his fucking shit. I'm like, I don't know, I don't know the guy. I wasn't there. I couldn't tell you, but. I mean, there's times, even with Twiztid, there's songs we do almost every night. Sometimes, as a live performer, sometimes you just have a fucking brain fart,
Right.
You zone out for that split second, you get lost, and, they're really good about covering each other, helping each other out, and, it always comes back. And most times fans don't even notice, and they'll just start laughing about something because they know they messed up. The fans might not even notice it, or I'll drop a stick, or I'll stop too early thinking it's a different song. They'll go, okay, cool. I'll jump back in and we just all laugh. It's like, it's rock and roll, man. It is what it is.
Well, something that I'm curious of, I've been meaning to ask you about. I haven't done it. I'm glad I haven't done it because now I have opportunity to ask you here. I noticed that a couple weeks ago, you made a post saying that you were no longer with Davey Suicide.
Indeed, I have.
And like I said, I haven't asked you about it. You don't want to talk about it. I get it. But what happened there?
So Davey, it was just a time. I had recently moved to Vegas and then was here for a couple weeks and went out for the 2-month tour for Most Tasteless, and then was supposed to get back from that and basically go straight into some Europe dates with Davey and then a winter run in the States. And I was just pretty wiped out. I didn't really have time to settle into Vegas yet and just needed a bit of a break. And my wife was like, oh, it would be nice if you were home at some point. She does like me, so that's pretty cool. And there was some other just kind of internal stuff, some business side stuff that I just think we just weren't on the same page anymore. And I just felt it was time. There's just been a lot of times in my career when the gut says it's time to go, and you gotta listen, you gotta follow it. So I'm looking for the next touring opportunity and the next gig, and I've still got a lot of stuff going on next year with Twiztid, so I should be busy with them. And just enjoying my new place in Vegas a little bit. So it's been good. But I love the Davey guys. There's no bad blood or anything like that. There was no big fallout. It was just some little voice in my head saying it's time to make some changes. So I love those guys, and they're doing great things. They're getting a lot of good opportunities coming down their way. So definitely be on the lookout for them. They're going to have a good year next year.
You've done multiple tours with multiple bands, and of all the places that you've played at, what are your favorite spots to play at, or are there multiples?
Favorite venues, I'd have to say House of Blues in Chicago is probably one of them. I went through there one time with Static X, and we had a sold-out show there, and it was just awesome. It's just one of those shows that's always stuck out to me. It was a packed show, people just freaking out. We played awesome. I had some friends there. I used to live in Chicago when I was younger, so I had some family there and some friends, and it was just one of those magical nights. Another one, Scout Bar in Houston, I love. We just had all kinds of crazy nights there. I'm normally through there 4 or 5 times a year, it feels like. So I just, everyone on the staff there I'm on a first name basis with. They're always happy when I come through. I'm always pumped to see them. And we just always have all kinds of fun. I remember one time with Twiztid, Wolfpack was one of our openers, and we had them, little grunt slave guys get drunk on cold cock whiskey and then try and swim. There's this lake moat in the back, and we thought they were going to die and drown.
And I'm pretty sure that moat back there, that's got alligators in it, doesn't it?
I don't know. If so, they weren't out that night, luckily. But, it was cool. Like, the whole tour package was out back, just drinking and hanging out after the show. And then, Mike from Wolfpack's like, well, you guys need to have a race and swim across. And, slam a bottle of cold cock whiskey and spin around in a circle on a baseball bat and then try and swim. It was pretty awesome. So there's,
Yeah, I can see Mike doing that, too. That's crazy.
Yeah. That was, those poor kids, I can't imagine. Scout Bar's got a special place to me. House of Blues, Chicago's a special place to me.
What would you say your most terrifying moment while you were on tour was?
Most terrifying moment. There was a time I was doing a bus tour with Tortures, and we were going either to Salt Lake or from Salt Lake. It was kind of a winter tour, so snowy and shitty, and I was asleep, and I could feel the ass end of the bus break loose, like we were starting to slide, and I just sat up thinking, oh my God, this is our Metallica moment. Like, we're going off the side of this cliff, we're going to die. And, everyone was kind of freaking out. You hear people like getting up out of their bunks, and then the bus driver got control of the bus back, luckily, and nothing happened. But talking to him, like, were we about to go off the side of a mountain? He's like, yeah, pretty much. But I saved it. I was like, oh, well, thank you very much, kind bus driver. So that was pretty scary. There was a time in Dallas with Twiztid. We were at this shitty venue, and it was just a super weird day, loaded and stuff, and then all of a sudden their house staff just got really shitty with us, and the security kid came in, started yelling at us, and he pushed past our sound guy, and Dustin, our security guy, came in, and they got in this screaming match, and I'm standing next to Dustin, and this kid reaches behind the bar and pulls a gun on Dustin, cocks it, points it at him, and I'm standing right next to him, and I was like, oh shit. So I took a big step to my right to get out of the way. And, Dustin's just like, are you fucking kidding? You're going to pull a gun on me like a bitch? And I'm like, dude, you're still talking shit to this guy? He's got a gun on you? So, Dustin's a fucking badass. But that was pretty terrifying. I never had a gun pulled on me before. So that was pretty scary. And third one was probably with Static X. We were in Kentucky, and our bus got raided. And I'm dead asleep in my bunk. And all of a sudden, my curtain gets ripped open, and this guy's sitting there pointing a gun at me, yelling at me to get out of my bunk and get in the fucking front lounge and don't touch anything and don't say anything. And I didn't know if we were getting robbed. I didn't know what the fuck was going on. And, I wake up and there's cops everywhere and dogs going through our bunks and the bays of the bus. And, we all got drug charges and all this other shit. That was pretty terrifying to be, again, woken up at gunpoint. So that was a fun one. I didn't have any drugs on me. I don't really do a lot of drugs or anything like that, so it was more the bosses that got in trouble on that one. But that was pretty terrifying. I'm like, what the fuck's going on? I'm getting these citations, and that was pretty terrifying to be on the road and having that kind of shit happen. So I think those would be the three big ones.
Okay, well, on the flip side of that, what would you say your most memorable moments while you've been out on tour has been?
That's a tough one, because most of the good nights end up with me being blackout drunk and I just wake up somewhere. So, a lot of them I don't remember, but I've heard they're a lot of fun. It's just spontaneous. It's not trying to have a party or anything. It's just the show's done and then not a long drive to the next show. So we're just hanging out, and we just end up doing stupid shit, making people do stupid shit, like swim across a moat in pitch black, and who knows if there's alligators or God knows what. There was the time with Davey, we were out with Orgy on a tour, and we had a day off. We ended up with the same area. We ended up having a football, like a touch football game. Davey Suicide versus Orgy, just out in this park playing football. There's shit like that that's awesome. There's so many great shows I've been able to do. The Chicago House of Blues one was pretty awesome. I got to do Download Festival with Tortures over in Donington, UK. That was pretty amazing. I literally bumped into Tony Iommi from Black Sabbath. He was coming out of a bathroom trailer as I was going in, and I wasn't paying attention, and we kind of bumped into each other. I look up, I'm like, oh, sorry. He's like, oh, it's all good, mate. And I look up, I'm like, holy fuck, that was fucking Tony Iommi, the guitar player from Black Sabbath. Like, I might, for some reason in my head, I was like, oh my God, I wonder if he washed his hands. I might have, his fucking, piss on me or something. I was like, the coolest thing, So there's stuff like that I've gotten to do. I got to play some shows in Australia, which was amazing. I never thought I'd get to leave the U.S., let alone get the opportunity to go play these places and, get paid to go to these places and all over Europe. So just getting to travel in general is awesome, man. I've been able to see, I think, pretty much every state in the continental U.S. and Canada and Europe and Australia. So just as a musician, getting to travel like that is pretty awesome. I'm very lucky, so I don't take that for granted. I appreciate all those moments.
If there's anything about the business and underground music that you could change personally, what would it be?
The underground scene's awesome. There's a lot of really cool artists out there, and I think people just get to really express themselves in the underground. It's not your mainstream thing where there's a formula or you gotta appeal to anyone. You can just do whatever you want. But I think with that, though, I kind of see a lot of people and this is in all scenes that I've been in, metal, punk, pop, just guys that are starting to get out there and play shows and trying to, give out demos and stuff, that it's just not ready yet. There's a lot of great technology out now, so it's easier to make demos. I think the quality has suffered a little bit. So, I see some of these openers and stuff. I'm like, man, you guys need to get back in the basement or in the garage and just really practice and really work on shit. You want to run with the big boys, and you want ICPs and Twistids and techs to take notice of you. Then you gotta step that game up. And I think a lot of these demos I get are just, I try to listen to everything, and we all do, just because you never know where the next big thing's going to come from. But, some of these guys give us amazing fucking demos. We're like, who the fuck is this guy? And then there's some like, oh man, like it just sounds like it's recorded on the microphone of their laptop and stuff. We're like, dude, just take a little bit of time, work on your songs, work on your craft, work on your rhymes, work on your beats, and just because your mommy tells you you're special doesn't mean you're ready to put it out there yet, So I think it's just people taking a hard look and just be like, am I ready to really do this, to put it out there yet? So I think don't be afraid to take a little time and just really perfect your craft and put out the best product, because you only get a lot of times one chance to give out a demo to someone like that, So if it's not the hot fire banger, then you're not going to get another look. So make sure your shit's on point. Make sure you're ready to put your name out there.
Well, that's all the time we have for today. Thanks for giving us your time, my man. I know you're a busy guy. Thanks for being the first person that is doing this with me. I greatly appreciate it. I'm
always glad you pop your cherry, Jay. Anytime I do.
Yeah, and I definitely enjoy the fact that you let me pick your brain for a little bit. And any future projects coming up for 2018?
I've got a lot of stuff coming up with Twiztid next year. Like I said, should be a pretty good size announcement coming down the pike, probably early next year, that I think will be pretty cool. It's definitely going to be a different kind of thing that I think is unexpected, which is what I love. It's something I've never got to do before in all my years of touring, so I'm pretty pumped about it. So there's a little teaser for you. There's some cool stuff coming down the pike. And then just been doing some recording with different people, kind of getting back into teaching a little bit, and just keeping my name out there for the next project. I'm trying to get into something that's kind of the main focus right now.
Awesome. Thanks, Drayven, my man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man. Good luck with everything.
All right, thanks.
Yep, take care.
One more big thank you to my man, Drayven. He's a busy guy, so for him to be able to take the time to talk to me is super dope of him. And I'm excited to see what him and Magic Ninja come together and do in 2018. Now, something that happened recently that I said I was going to talk about right here on the very first episode of Grind Time Podcast was recently Menace to Sobriety just had a show with the Insane Clown Posse. Now, before I even start this off, I want to set a disclaimer here and say that everything I'm about to say is consistent of what I know to be fact by the people who told me the situation and my own experience. With that being said, let me recap here and say that Menace to Sobriety had a show with ICP on the Great Milenko tour in Cincinnati, Ohio at the venue. It's something I had wanted to get off my bucket list for a long time. Menace has done multiple gatherings and shows with ICP before in the past, and I obviously wasn't in the band then, and I hadn't had the opportunity to do it. So I wanted to take this show more than others. I had agreed to sell tickets to the show because, usually when Menace takes a show, we have people in my inbox hitting me up for tickets anyway. So if it's a show I want to do, I take the ticket sales. If it's a show I'm promoting, obviously I've got to do that anyway, just because of my deal with Odd Bodies. But regardless, if it's a show I want to do and people are going to hit me up for tickets anyway, why not? Okay. And I understand that some people, look at that bad, but whatever. I don't give a fuck. It's my grind. I'm going to do it how I want to do it. Okay. So we get to the venue the day of. All right. And I'm informed by the promoter that ICP's tour manager, or the president, CEO of Psychopathic Records, Billy Bill, had told him that they did not want any local support on their show and that all locals were to be kicked off the show immediately. The reason being is because locals to Psychopathic Records, and this is the words from Billy Bill, the locals watered down the Psychopathic Records brand. Now let me just stop right there. Psychopathic Records, the label that claims that if you have love for them, they have love for you, no matter who you are concerned about their brand being watered down by local acts. Tech Nine has local acts on his shows. Bands that have done numbers that quadruple Insane Clown Posse have local acts on their shows. Now you could go and say whatever you want, about, oh, well, they have the right to claim that. Well, okay, I guess that makes sense. But at the same time, this is a group that prides themselves on being underground. And yet they put themselves above on a pedestal that apparently makes them better, in that if you're starting off, or not even starting off, a band like Menace, who's been on multiple national tours, somehow it makes us lesser because we sold tickets to a show to them. Now, don't get me wrong here. I'm under no delusion that any local act has the right to tout some of the accomplishments that ICP has, okay? I'm not trying to say we're their equals. However, what I am trying to say is the reason why about 99% of the people who consider themselves underground fans are underground fans because there's not supposed to be that kind of judgment in the underground. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong here, but aren't these the same guys who claim to be the outcasts of society, and now they are the oppressors in this situation? Now, let me put this out there too. The local acts sold over $6,000 worth of tickets to this show, okay? $6,000. Now, I don't know the exact number, but I'm pretty sure that's about 75% of the bill that ICP wanted to play this show, okay? $6,000 worth of tickets. Yet we're lesser to them. Regardless. All right, let's move on. At that point, I know the promoter had pretty much begged him to let the locals stay on, and Billy wasn't trying to have it. So they had to call the booking agent to turn around and enforce them, because he has a contract saying that he was allowed to have local acts. The booking agent had to force Billy Bill to let these local acts play, okay? So instead of just going, okay, you got a contract, let's just work this out and get it to where both sides are happy, Billy then in return tells the promoter he has to cut one of the 5 opening acts. Completely, just off the entire show. One of the acts has to be cut. One of the acts that sold tickets to play this show, the day of the show, have people coming from other cities to see them, to put money in the pockets of the Insane Clown Posse and Psychopathic Records, has to be cut. For no reason at all. Just because, okay? So that's one of the first things that happens is, in a temper tantrum, Billy Bill tells the promoter he has to cut one of the acts. Now, on top of that, the remaining 4 local acts that are on this show, he sets up a time schedule for them. Now, there are 3 bands on this show. And there were supposed to be 2 rappers, and one of the rappers was the one that was supposed to be cut. So if you add all that together, you have 3 bands and 1 rap group that have to be fit between the hours of 5:30 and 7 o'clock. Okay, that's plenty of time to put on 4 acts. But now it's personal because Billy didn't get his way. So here's the opening schedule that he wants. From 5:30 to 5:50, 2 of the bands, full piece bands, have to play their sets. From 5:30 to 5:50. That's 10 minutes apiece for bands. And that's not including setup and breakdown. 10 minutes apiece, okay? Then after 5:50, he wants a 20-minute break. Not for setup or breakdown or anything, but just to have a 20-minute break. And then the final 2 acts will then do their sets. So 20 minutes of dead air, and then the other 2 acts can do their set. Now that would put us around 6:50, something like that. The opening act was Project Born, who wasn't scheduled to even be on until 7:30. So while we're sitting here trying to figure out why it is we have to kick one of the acts off, now we have to deal with a time schedule that was made up to intentionally try to screw over the local acts. Mind you, again, local acts came up with over $6,000 worth of ticket money for this guy who is now trying to intentionally fuck over the people who are supposed to open this show. The people that raised all this money for him, that apparently lessened his brand for no other reason, are now getting screwed over. So just to recap what we were just talking about, from 5:30 to 5:50, 2 bands were supposed to play. A 20-minute break was going to happen for no reason, and then 2 more acts were going to play. Explain to me what the point of this is at this point. Why are you intentionally going out of your way, because you didn't get your way, to now screw over everybody who is involved with the show? The quote-unquote top label in the underground is now throwing a temper tantrum and putting energy into screwing over people that are apparently lesser than them for no other reason but just because they could. Okay, so all right, let's go on and get past this here. So basically what had to happen was, and this is a lot of people were asking me, what the situation was and why everything seemed chaotic. It was actually pretty dope. All of the locals went in the back with the promoter, and we all came together and decided, okay, he's intentionally trying to screw over one of the artists by cutting them, and the rest of us by giving us these horrible set times and won't budge on them. Okay, so what we're going to do is we are going to take over the show. Everybody's going to do their set in the amount of time that we were supposed to do it, and they're not going to do anything to stop us. Like, I've never seen anything like this happen before. It was insane the way that all the locals came together and were like, look, we're intentionally getting fucked here. So let's fuck them back. What are they going to do to stop us? Nothing. Okay? So we all got together and we made our own set times. Everybody got up there. I felt bad for Jay Bizarre. He was the one that was supposed to be cut, but he ended up getting up there and I think doing like a track and a half before they cut his mics. But still, he was at least able to get up there, okay? But, to me, the best part of that night was the fact that all the locals came together and said, fuck y'all, we're going to do what we came here to do, and you're not going to do anything. And, we did our best to get out there and shine. Obviously, all of our set times were cut, by 5 minutes. Every one of us, at least, was cut by 5 minutes. And obviously, Jay Bizarre took a little bit of a bigger hit than that. But regardless, all of us were able to come together, and we came up with our own set list. All right, Billy Bill. We came up with our own shit, regardless of you trying to fuck us over. But regardless, so he's in the back the whole time while this is going on, just pouting and, doing his best to still bitch. But at the same time, we're like, fuck that. We're going to do what we came here to do. And that's exactly what we did. So even after all that, all the locals were done by 6:45. Okay. So from 6:45 to 7:30 when Project Born went on, there was house music on. And for those who might not understand what really house music is, that's the shit playing in the above speakers that they play to make it so that it's just not a bunch of silence, okay? So we were basically listening to the radio for 45 minutes. That 45-minute time period that they could have had the local acts on that lessened their brand, apparently, that could have filled up that time so that people weren't just standing around for almost an hour while nothing was happening, okay? Almost an hour. Now, you can sit here and you can argue that maybe it was because of time constraints or something like that. Okay, all right. Well, here's the issue with that. Like always, ICP goes on an hour late almost. So there is no time constraint issue here. It was intentionally done to prove, or at least try to prove a point that didn't need to be made. I don't understand. I want you guys to ask yourself something here. If you're one of those people that go, oh, they're the kings, they can do whatever they want, or you're one of those people that go, oh, Twiztid doesn't like juggalos or whatever. Let me ask you something here real quick, okay? Why do you think it is that ever since the infamous Fago Lovers interview came out, where the clowns came out and said they will no longer be working with Twiztid or anyone in Magic Ninja, everybody on their label roster, other than Light and Ouija Mac, which I've got nothing bad to say about either one of them, why do you think Clay, why do you think Hoodoo, why do you think ABK have all worked with M&E since that infamous video dropped? It's because of bad business. I can sit here and tell you about a conversation I had with somebody, which I'm not going to put them on blast. All right, it's not my place to say it. But one of the people I just mentioned, I had a call with, and they just recently released a record on their own because they didn't want to deal with doing it through Psychopathic. You know, it's little shit like this that makes me scratch my head and wonder why fans go to the edges of the earth to defend these guys when so many people have came out and talked about how horrible businessmen they are. And I got to witness it firsthand at a show that should have been landmark for me. Should have been something that was the stamp on my career. I will now forever remember it as the time I found out that Psychopathic Records is exactly what everybody has said they are, and that they think everybody who isn't Psychopathic Records waters down their brand. Why do you think Strange Music wasn't at the last gathering? And you could say Tech was on tour, that's why he wasn't there. He's got a label full of other people. Why do you think they weren't in attendance? It wasn't probably because they didn't get an invite. I can almost promise you that. It's because these people have been doing bad business for so long, and they're not in a position where they can just do it and people have to take it anymore. And after everything was said and done, the promoter, who did everything he could to fight for us, was still screwed out of money at the end of the night and was told that he wasn't doing it as long as Billy Bill had been doing it, so he's just going to have to deal with it, and tried his best to put seasoning on a shit sandwich for everybody involved. So for anybody who was at that show, who came up to me and asked what happened, and I said, listen for the Grind Time podcast, there it is. That is the situation. That's what happened. They attempted to screw over people who made them a lot of money that night for no other reason but other than the fact that they could. And you cannot sit here and tell me that it's an issue of locals watering down their brand when they go to a place like the Agora in Cleveland and the guy up there puts 40 local acts on the bill, but they ain't got no problem with that because I'm sure they're getting paid more for that show. So they probably have absolutely no issue with that at all. So is it really locals water down your brand, or is it you can't find a way to make extra money off these people so you don't want them on your show? You know what I mean? And at the same time, let me ask you this. With the whole debacle that went on over the summer with them not being able to find a spot for the gathering on the West Coast, was it really because of the gang tag? Was that why they couldn't find a spot in the West Coast? Or were people just not willing to deal with them because of their history of horrible business? Which one is it? I'd be willing to bet it's because of their history of having horrible business ethics. But that's what happened. You know, I'm not going to sit here and continue to harp on the issue. I just wanted to tell my side of the story from the information that was given to me and what I know happened. So at the end of the day, I'm going to have this horrible memory of being able to watch people I've looked up to my whole life try to fuck me over because they think that I'm lesser than them. Okay. So that's it for episode 1 of the Grind Time Podcast. I want to thank you for listening. I want to thank you for being here. We got much more on the way. I'm recording new episodes every day, man. I hope this is going to go really far, and I hope y'all enjoy it. Let me know who you want to hear on here. If there's somebody specifically you want to hear on this podcast, hit your boy up. Shoot me a message. Much love to the homies and the family. I will see y'all next time.
I like what you got. Good job.